coming to you with about 3 hours of sleep, intermittent sleep, while on airplanes, boats, buses, and trains. There on the table, next to my best girl, Melissa, you see our current insanely healthy diet. What do you got there? Broccoli, potatoes, yams, no oil.
Yeah, I had spinach, but I ate the whole thing.
Yeah, so the spinach is present only in its absence. And this is, in fact, a cup of oatmeal. Oatmeal glop. There you go. All with 0 oil and 0 soy even. No nothing. Insanely, horribly healthy diet. And we'll see how that works for us. Look, guys, stupidity is real. I mean, that's the main moral of the story here with Moon and Rock. There's no kind of moral you're going to put to it otherwise. We live in an era of inverse meritocracy. The stupidest people are promoted to positions at the pinnacle of fame and influence in the vegan movement. And that's one of the main reasons I want out. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to compete at the bottom of the pile while people like James Aspey, with his horribly mistranslated, illiterate Chinese tattoo. A Chinese tattoo that has an error in the word for and. The Chinese equivalent of the word and, A-N-D, one of the most common words in the entire language, one of the easiest to write. They managed to get wrong on James Aspey's chest, and he walks around rocking that, representing the vegan movement, and everybody who speaks and understands Chinese is silently looking at each other like, should we mention that this shirtless guy who confessed overt ex-drug addict who allegedly represents the movement has garbled, illiterate, broken Chinese written on his chest? People like James Aspey at least are overt about what's wrong with them. I would say the same about Paul Bashir. Paul Bashir openly tells you he's a former drug addict. He has no education. He has no intelligence. He has no message. He has nothing to offer. James Aspey has been upfront about that. I mean, I respect him for that. I laugh at him because it's hilarious, but James Aspey has openly said again and again, he's not particularly intelligent. He's not well educated. He doesn't have anything to say. He says the same simple message again and again and again. I just saw, we didn't watch the whole thing. How could we possibly? He just did this talk show, new vegan talk show, Dubu, set up by Sean Lee. It's the same story. It's the same narrative. He's already told 100 times. He has nothing new to say. He's not engaged with the issues. And I mean, people like Moon and Rock, 48,000 views so far on their coming out of the closet as organ eaters, people who eat organ meat and clarified butter and so on.
How many subscribers do they have?
I'm not going to check. Sorry, I'd have to.
Does the red box say
Oh, it does? Okay, there you go. 58,000. 58,000.
Oh my gosh. I know. Whenever I see that, I just think it's so pathetic that channels with just nothing content have up to 100,000 subscribers and on average get like 30,000 views, and like your videos that are often, substantial intellectually.
Well, I know this comes back to, though, the question of why did they kill Socrates? I mean, the whole thing with Socrates was Socrates made people ask uncomfortable questions. He challenged people's assumptions. And from day one on this channel, it's the role of this channel within veganism has been to challenge the unquestioned assumptions people were living by. So in the early days, I was coming out with a lot of hard-hitting videos, pointing the finger at Freely and Durianmeyer and saying, hey, these people are boasting that they're the most effective vegan activists in the world, and they're not. This isn't remotely effective vegan activism. This is bad for the movement. It's bad for you and me, and it's bad for the people who are following their advice and dropping out of college, dropping out of high school in some cases, moving to Thailand, being on permanent vacation, and trying to make money out of their bodies and their appearance, selling health and psychological advice on YouTube. I mean, it was a crazy phenomenon. And I came out here and said, no. There's some people still today only know me from that. I was talking to somebody on Facebook the other day who's known my channel for years. And I was saying, look, do you know I also do Aristotle? I also do real philosophy and real politics and history of China. And I'm not just the guy who said Freely's an idiot. But, I mean, I really think it's natural that people hate me the same way people hated Socrates. It's real easy to just remember Socrates as this stereotype of the respected philosopher. He wasn't. In his own time, in his own society, he was despised.
Yeah.
And, like Socrates, I don't just take on the easy targets. It's not just Freely and Moon and Rock. It's also like Gary Francione and the Gary Yourofsky. It's all the top Garys. But, it's the people who are respected. Well, I even just mentioned Paul Bashir and so on, as the relatively intellectual, overtly political organizers of the movement. And all these things, stupidity really matters. If you knew Tim Sheaf personally, whether he was your friend or colleague, if you don't know who Tim Sheaf is, again, a major influential leader in the movement, mostly because he's good looking, partly because he happened to get on TV, he got some mainstream media, but I think that's also because he's good looking. I mean, he's a male example of this. He's a guy, not a woman, but it's mostly because people find Tim Sheaf attractive that he became a major influential figure in veganism for a time, for a couple of years only, right? He wasn't vegan for that long. Sorry, if Tim Sheaf was a friend of yours, if he was your cousin, if he was some guy who was going to marry your sister, I can understand you saying, oh, no, don't worry, he's not that dumb. Or it doesn't matter. Like, maybe he's dumb, but don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just think the best of him. Just hope for the best. And, then he burns your house down. Stupid people do stupid things that have terrible consequences. Stupidity is dangerous. It really is. And, in politics, it's all a fucking tinderbox. All this stuff can light on fire. All of it can be burned down so easily. People put so much faith and support and money behind Gary Yourofsky, including PETA at one stage, right? So all this support for Gary Yourofsky. But guess what? He's actually an idiot. I know he means well. I know he has good intentions. But he's so stupid that, he said these ridiculous things about Palestinians and the Palestinian, and he never backs down, and he never apologizes, and he decides to make a stand. And guess what? All this support you put into backing this guy, it's all burned down. He burned down. He immolated. He destroyed not just his own work built up over years, everyone else who contributed to that movement. Why? Because he is an idiot. He always was an idiot. And I can say this about Gary Yourofsky. The best thing about Gary Yourofsky, the thing I can respect the most, is the extent to which he's honest about his own idiocy. So there is a new video on Isaac's channel, Ask Yourself channel, which is a very unusually low-key video from Gary Yourofsky, where he's sitting and talking about, so it wasn't filmed by Isaac, it's just posted on his channel. Isaac wasn't there.
I was going to say, is he out of retirement?
No. It's just something he happened to find and re-upload. But he's sitting there, and in this down-to-earth way, he's talking about how stupid he was, and all the excuses he made up at certain points of life for why he didn't become vegan sooner. So back when he ate meat, and he was like, well, I eat meat, but I'm still an animal rights activist. I eat meat, but I still care about ecology and elephants and whatever. When the guy is being self-deprecating and self-critical about his own stupidity, you can kind of relate to it. And again, if he was marrying your sister or he's a coworker or something, it's real easy to get into that kind, supportive, positive attitude of, oh, don't worry about it. Maybe he's a little bit stupid. No! I'm sorry, but this is really a difference between stupidity and ugliness. If you know someone who's brilliant but ugly, overlook their appearance. Their appearance doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Don't care about it. It doesn't matter. If you know someone who's stupid, you gotta watch them. You gotta watch them like a fire that at any point can get out of control, like a fire in a waste paper basket. It can burn down your office real easily. Stupidity is dangerous. It's destructive, and it's self-destructive. It harms the people who are stupid. And that's what Gary Yourofsky was. He was a ticking time bomb. And anyone who looks back over the guy's record, even his early career, it was completely obvious what a fucking menace he was. He was a danger to the movement. He was a danger to himself and others. We're lucky he didn't outright punch in the face half of the mainstream journalists he did interviews with. It was a disaster. And again, everyone who put energy into that. So everyone who tried to build up a movement with Tim Sheaf, you all look like idiots now. Everyone who tried to build up a movement with Gary Yourofsky, you all look like idiots now. What do you think's going to happen with James and Carly, if it hasn't happened already? If you actually put your time and money into building a movement with James Aspey, or James and Carly, where do you think that's going to go? What do you think you're going to accomplish in the next 5 years? Best case scenario, you accomplish nothing. The best case scenario is that this dude just stays in a holding pattern with what he's got going on right now as an Instagram activist, right? As a lifestyle activist. Because the worst case scenario, you can see this is what it is. So look, guys, I mean, it really does come down to judgments about intelligence and responsibility. You tell me what's scarier, being in a political situation where someone who is evil is in a position of authority, or being in a situation where you're looking at an authority figure who's stupid. I think stupidity is a lot scarier because it's a lot more unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen next. And one of my experiences with this, my girlfriend's seen this recently. I've been interrogated and searched at airports like a million times. If you travel a lot, at various times they decide to cross-examine you. And having a customs agent who's mad at you or biased against you, or is a little bit evil, is way better than having a customs agent who is so stupid that they can't understand the answers to your question, that they can't make judgment. That's the scariest situation to be in at all. Authority figures' stupidity is more dangerous than bad intentions. Someone who's evil or has bad intentions, you can still negotiate with. You can still come to a compromise or a solution. You can figure out a way forward. And stupidity, you can never win. All right? Moon and rock.
So
you want to jump in on their particular case? I mean,
okay, I have a question for you, and I guess I don't know if it's a philosophical question or not, but do you think that you need to be at a certain level of intelligence to be vegan?
No, but I do believe veganism is for everybody, in the same sense that being a non-smoker is for everybody, or being a teetotaler, sobriety is for everybody. Put it that way. Because I think it is for everybody. I think it can be practiced by everybody. But advocacy, promoting veganism, being a leader in the vegan movement, being a voice for veganism, is not for everybody. We had a knock at the door. You could probably hear it there. Yeah. But yeah, to me, that's pretty simple and straightforward. Okay. By the same token, not everyone can go into a prison and talk to the prison inmates about sobriety and how to quit heroin and how to live your life without ever drinking alcohol and without smoking cigarettes or without using weed. That's advocacy, or that's activism, that's intervention. That a special type of person with special characteristics, a special preparation to do that, as opposed to just being sober yourself. I think that's what requires intelligence.
What I usually have thought about, just a vegan diet in general, not like a specific vegan diet, because in contrast, when I've been learning about the McDougall diet, and especially like I've now listened to the whole Nina and Randa audiobook, it's like, you do have to have a certain level of maintenance and just self-discipline and maybe not necessarily intelligence, just like having a routine.
I don't want to get too abstract with this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, wait. Real world. Let's keep it real world here. Mm-hmm. Gary Yourofsky gave lectures in high schools. Who could possibly be a worse representative of veganism to go into high schools and represent this movement and this diet and the ethics and the ecology than Gary Yourofsky? Moon and rock. Moon and rock are even worse. People like this on YouTube are even worse representatives. And I know it's a very different form of activism, a very different platform. Moon and Rock are not literally going to high schools. I think high school students are clicking on this and watching this on YouTube and so on. But this is my point. I don't want to talk about this in the abstract. Real world, who represents this movement? These people choose themselves. People like Freely, people like Gary Yourofsky, people like Moon and Rock, and they become leaders in a totally inverse meritocracy. What's the main characteristic that's rewarded in these people? Telling their audience something they already want to hear. And we all know the vegan message is not what people already want to hear. So it may be an ersatz concoction of yoga mat spirituality and Mother Earth ideology and all this crap. And they're not the only ones. We know some other channels like that within the vegan demimonde, where it's this really weird, self-invented, pseudo-religion. Whatever it is, that's the link that brings people in, right? And whatever it was about Gary Yourofsky and so on that people found appealing. But it's the worst people. It is the worst who are representing veganism. And hey, you know what the good news is? Veganism is making progress despite vegans. The movement sucks. The movement has been a failure in the last 5 years. But guess what we saw sitting in the airport today? We're sitting in Dallas, Texas airport, and there's like a 15-minute special on CNN. That was today, within the last 24 hours. We've been in airports all day. We're doing this with 3 hours of sleep. CNN presenting perfectly the case for why veganism is an inevitable ethical requirement given current ecological and ethical considerations. And they were doing a better job than Gary Yourofsky, and of course a better job than Moon and Rock or any of these people. That's CNN. And I said to you at the time, I said, look, despite the fact that the movement has fallen apart, despite the fact that the movement is garbage, we're still winning. Like, the truth of this message is so important and so self-evident that CNN is picking up and running with it. Just a couple days ago, maybe about a week ago, The Economist, so The Economist is a magazine, but they also now have a website and a YouTube channel. The Economist put up an argument for veganism. Maybe that was 2 weeks ago, sorry, but quite recently. And I don't know if you bothered to see that. It was boring for me because I already know all this stuff, but it was exactly the arguments about scaling up alternatives to meat, and as they increase in scale, environmental impacts, efficiency, water use, blah blah blah. But the conclusion was really clear again. Basically, what is your excuse for not being vegan? In the CNN piece, they asked one of the advocates. So I think he was a scientist working on lab-grown meat, so fake meat substitutes. They asked him, "Are you vegan?" And he admitted on camera, "No, I know I should be. Like, I know I ought to be, but I'm not." And the whole thing was framed in that way, where it's like given these. So this is the reality, is that the vegan message is so important and so timely and so salient that the people who might be our enemies are doing a better job promoting it than the people who are ostensibly our friends. Scumbags like Moon and Rock, whose whole concept of life is just self-indulgence, is just their own momentary happiness and their sensation of fulfillment and satiety and spiritual attainment that they can apparently get out of eating clarified butter, ghee, or eggs,
organ meat,
or organ with.
No, it's complete bullshit. And anyway, I know, I'm sorry to get abstract. I know your point is, no, you don't have to be intelligent to be vegan, but you need to be intelligent to be a leader in the vegan movement.
Yeah.
But that's not true, because I see so many people who are leaders in the vegan movement who are not. I mean, full disclosure,
I know,
I don't
and that's
think
why
I'm
I
that
quit.
intelligent of a person.
I know.
Every day I'd say to Isel, like, wow, that was really fucking stupid of me. Like, I'm really stupid.
I know, but at least once a month we watch some vegan on YouTube, and I say to you, look, Melissa, if you're lacking confidence in your own YouTube channel, look at what garbage this is and how much you have to offer compared to these people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
like,
look,
I know, but I want to say,
guys, I've said this before. I'm quitting the movement, okay, for the same reasons I quit Buddhism. Buddhism, I quit because of the people. If there was nobody I could work with, if there was nobody I could do research with, if there was nobody I could do humanitarian work with, if there was nobody I could make a difference with politically, cooperatively, I'm not going to be a one-man religion. And the same thing about veganism as a movement. I'm not going to be a one-man street protest. I'm not going to stand there on the street alone. I'm not going to be a one-man political movement. I put 5 years into this. I have nobody to work with. There's nobody we're meeting up with right now in Paris, France, or what have you. There is no list of opportunities, and on the contrary, what I've dealt with is the implacable hostility and fear of idiots like Paul Bashir and like Durian Ryder and all these people. Nobody's looking for talent. Nobody's looking to get organized. Nobody's looking to do something positive. The people who are doing something positive are CNN, The Economist, of course, PCRM, The straight up medical science people, including Dr. McDougall, those are the people doing something positive. And everybody else, last 5 years, it's only gotten worse. And you know the real fundamental reason why people like Moon and Rock are quitting? Ultimately comes back to Oprah. Oprah Winfrey was a huge force in creating all of this junk pseudoscience spirituality. And Oprah Winfrey created the mania for veganism. I think 2012, 2013 was a big breaking point, and for the first time people were coming on YouTube and learning about veganism and seeing slaughterhouse footage. And that period of initial optimism and excitement is now ending. So people like Moon and Rock, I don't know, in their millions, they're all going to leave the movement. Then you guys are going to be sitting around wondering, hey, what have I got left? And guess what? You ain't got me. Because most of the quality people, we're going to pack up and find some other cause that we can contribute to. So if I'd spent the last 5 years working on human rights in Cambodia, if I'd spent the last 5 years working on Korean Ojibwe politics and human rights, I'd be in a better position. I'd have something to work with way better than what I've got now. What I've got now is nothing except a bowl full of yams and broccoli. Okay, guys, hit me up on Patreon. Send me an email if you want to. Don't act like it's hard to find me. See me when you see me.